Roseline sat on the floor with her knees pulled close, dress torn, hair damp from the dripping wall. 3 days in the dark. 3 days of whispers. 3 days of waiting to learn if her life was already over. The door scraped open. "On your feet, Luna," a guard said, like the title was a joke now. They marched her through narrow halls and up into winter light that stabbed her eyes. The courtyard was full. Wolves from every allied pack stood shoulder to shoulder. Banners moved in the wind. Faces she had fed, healed, guided. Now they stared through her as if she were a stranger. Inside the great hall, the ceiling rose like a sky of carved oak. Alpha Wyatt sat high on the stone chair that had never looked like a throne until today. His jaw was set. His eyes were hard. Serena stood behind his shoulder, hands folded over a slight swell at her belly. Rosaline's heart pinched. "Bring her forward," Wyatt said. Guards pushed her to the center. The marble was cold under her bare feet. Roseline lifted her chin. She would not bow, not for lies. Wyatt's voice filled the room. "Luna Roseline, you are accused of treason against the Western Wolf territories. You are charged with sending aid to our enemies and conspiring to weaken this pack from within." A murmur rolled through the hall like wind over tall grass. He lifted a leather folder. Pages inside rattled. Coded letters found in her chamber. Trade routes. Patrol times. Names. He let the papers fall back. "We have witnesses. We have proof." Roseline spoke for the first time. Her voice was rough from silence, but steady. "Those letters were planted. I did not betray my people." Wyatt's mouth tightened. "You betrayed me." "No, you betrayed me the day you chose your pride over truth," she thought. Out loud, she said nothing. She would not feed his anger. The council table stood to her right. Alphas from the north and south watched with cold interest. She searched the faces for kindness. She found none. A clerk read out the law. If the council finds her guilty, sentence is death. If a fated mate claims right of substitution, that life may be taken instead. The words cut. Roseline kept her eyes forward. She had no fated mate. She had only a bond that had turned into a chain. A side door opened. Gracie, her aide, slipped in at the back, eyes red but brave. Roseline met her gaze for a heartbeat. "I'm still here." Gracie gave the smallest nod. "Do you deny the charges?" An elder asked. "I do," Roseline said. "I swear it on the moon." Wyatt stood. "You swore the same vow to me," he said, voice low and sharp. "And yet the letters speak." The elder lifted a hand. "We will hear final statements. Then we will vote." A hush fell. Roseline felt her pulse in her throat. The room blurred at the edges. She breathed slow until the lines sharpened again. The far doors boomed. Heads turned. Guards moved, tense. A man walked in with a sure, even stride. Dark hair, cold winter eyes that still somehow felt warm when they found her. Silver thread marked the collar of his coat. The Stonebridge mark shone at his shoulder. "Lucas!" The hall shifted, as if it had taken a breath it did not know it was holding. Wyatt's voice dropped. "You are not welcome here, Stonebridge." Lucas did not look at him. He looked only at Roseline as he came to stand within a blade's length of her. He bowed once, not to Wyatt, not to the council, but to her. "My apologies for the delay," he said, easy and calm, but his gaze was fierce. "I came as soon as I learned the council would judge you today." Roseline could not speak. The world had narrowed to the space between them, to the way her chest ached, with a feeling that felt like fear and hope at once. Wyatt's power pressed down on the room. State your business or leave. Lucas lifted his head, voice clear enough to ring from the beams. I am King Lucas of the Stonebridge Pack, and I claim the right of substitution. The hall exploded into shouts. Lucas raised a hand. The noise fell like broken glass. He turned his palm to his chest, fingers brushing the spot above his heart. His eyes never left Rosaline's. Because she is my fated mate. Chapter 1. He said the words that could kill him. I claim the right of substitution. Lucas said, steady as winter, because she is my fated mate. The great hall broke into shouts. Some cried out. Some cursed. Roseline stood very still and looked only at Lucas, as if he were the one fixed point in a room that had started to tilt. Wyatt rose. Power rolled off him like heat from a forge. Stonebridge King, he said, voice low, you play a dangerous game. You are not her mate. You are a vulture at my roof. I am not circling, Lucas said. I am here. An elder struck a staff on stone. The crack cut the noise. Silence. The law is old, the elder said. A claimed mate may take the sentence if the claim is proven. If false, the trial proceeds. Wyatt's mouth curved without warmth. Prove it, he said. Now, or get out. Lucas reached inside his coat and drew out a silver cuff. It was simple and heavy, engraved with 2 small rivers and a mountain line. Moon steel. Old work. The metal seemed to drink the light. The Stonebridge Oath Band. Lucas said, it answers only to truth. If she is not my mate, it will bite. If she is, it will seal. He looked at Roseline, not at Wyatt. No tricks. No glow. Only the band. The elder nodded once. We know that band, they said. We accept it. Rosaline's heart knocked hard against her ribs. She walked the last steps to him. The hall went quiet except for footsteps and breath. Up close, Lucas smelled like pine smoke in Cold River. Calm, certain. He held the cuff in both hands, as if it mattered to treat it with care. He kept his voice soft. I will not force you, he said. You choose. You don't know me, she whispered. I do, he said. Enough to stand here. Behind them, Silk whispered. Serena shifted near Wyatt's chair. Roseline did not turn. She looked only at the band. The elder lifted the staff again. Hear the terms, they said to all. If the band bites, we dismiss the claim and continue at once. If it seals, the right of substitution is accepted. Wyatt's eyes were bright and cold. And if it seals, he said, the Stonebridge King dies in her place. The words pressed the air thin. In the back, Gracie clasped her hands until her knuckles went white. Roseline found her friend's eyes for a breath. A line of strength tugged tight. Between them, Lucas opened the cuff. The hinge moved without a sound. Your choice, he said again. Roseline held out her wrist. The metal kissed her skin. Cold. She braced for pain. The cuff rested there, loose, waiting. Lucas placed 2 fingers on the metal and spoke the old Stonebridge vow in a voice that never shook. I bind truth to truth. If I lie, bite me. If I speak what is real, seal to her and spare her life. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the cuff clicked. A clean, final sound. The metal cooled like snow in shade. A faint double heartbeat thrummed through the cuff, 2 pulses finding the same rhythm. Soft at first, then sure enough that the front rows heard it and drew in sharp breaths. No, Wyatt said, raw and sudden. The elder's face changed. They looked from the cuff to Roseline to Lucas and back. The claim is proven, they said, by law, the right of substitution. Stop! Wyatt's snarl cut through the hall. His eyes flashed gold. Power rolled off him in waves. The council will hear one more witness before you trade a queen for a king, he said. He stabbed a finger toward the doors. Bring Juan. A rear door opened. Juan walked in with his shoulders square and his eyes flat. His uniform was neat. His jaw was tight. He bowed to the council and did not bow to Roseline. Wyatt's voice went smooth. State your oath, he said. Juan lifted his hand. I swear by the moon, he said, loud enough to reach the rafters, that I carried Rosaline's orders to our enemies. I took her letters. I traded her secrets. She told me when the patrols would be thin and where to leave the coin. Gasps scattered across the hall. Someone shouted, Liar! Another hissed. The elder banged the staff, but the noise would not settle right away. The words hung there like smoke. Roseline stepped forward. Where? She asked, voice calm and clear. Where did I meet you? Say the place. One did not blink. At the South Docks. The old crane, he said. 3 nights before the border raid. Gracie flinched. Roseline kept her face smooth, but her mind raced. The old crane. She had not been there. She had been with the council at a public feast. Wyatt raised a leather folder. Papers whispered. We also found this, he said. Letters in her chamber. Maps. Schedules. He tapped the cover. All in her handwriting. That's not my handwriting, Roseline said. Wyatt's mouth curled. The scribe says it is. The elder looked torn. You will execute the order, Wyatt snapped. You have your liar's band. I have the law. Treason demands blood. If Stonebridge wants to trade his life for hers, let it be now. Lucas stepped between Roseline and the council by half a pace. Not much. Just enough to make his intent plain. If you rush this, he said, voice quiet, you do it because you fear the truth. Wyatt's gaze burned. I fear nothing, he said. Then grant time, Lucas said. 24 hours. Let her prove the lie. If she fails, take my life and be done. The elder hesitated. They looked over the hall. They looked at the cuff on Rosaline's wrist, at the faint beat that some could still hear if they listened hard. 24 hours, they said at last. From this moment. Wyatt's hand closed on the arm of his chair until the stone creaked. Fine, he said, but hear me, Stonebridge. If she fails, I will take everything from you on these steps. By law, the accused investigates under escort, assigned 2 enforcers by her side. The Stonebridge king remains in custody as surety. The guards closed in. As the enforcers formed up, Gracie slipped close enough to catch Rosaline's eye. Her lips shaped 2 silent words. Old Crane. Then a third. Aiden. The doors opened onto winter light. 24 hours had started. Chapter 2. The cold hit Roseline as the doors opened. The movement band on her arm hummed like a wasp. 2 enforcers, Hale and Mira, fell in beside her, 1 on each side. They followed her down the steps, across the square, and into the streets. People watched in silence. Some looked away. Some touched their hearts. Roseline kept her head up and her pace even. She counted the hours in her mind. 24. Less now. Gracie slipped from a side alley and joined at Rosaline's shoulder, like a shadow. Hale shot her a warning look. Roseline spoke first. She's my aide. She stays. Mira nodded once. She stays, she said. The law was clear. They moved fast toward the river. The air grew sharp and wet. The old crane rose ahead, a black arm over gray water. Ropes creaked. Gulls cried. Dock workers hauled crates and called to each other in short, tired voices. Roseline walked straight to the dock office. A scarred man sat behind a tall ledger. He looked up, saw the band on her arm, and swallowed. I need the entry logs for 3 nights before the border raid. Roseline said, all movements at the old crane. Names. Times. The man hesitated. Hale rested 2 fingers on the counter. By council order, he said, hand them over. The man slid a stack of ledgers across. Roseline opened the first. The columns were neat. Hour, name, cargo, signature, stamp. She turned pages fast, but careful. Gracie leaned in, reading upside down. There, Gracie said, tapping, the night of the storm. Roseline traced the line with 1 finger. 3rd bell of night. Gate closed due to gale. 1 pass issued. Name, J. March. Cargo, sealed pouch. Stamp, guard token 17. J. Mar. Roseline said softly. Juan Marino's initials. Hale frowned. Tokens are assigned to officers. 17 is Juan. Mira pointed at the next column. Signature, she said. The scrawl was not Roseline's. It was a fast, crooked hand that pressed too hard at the end, and the gate was closed. Only a token could open it. A Luna does not carry a guard token. Gracie touched another line. Witness, she said. A small note at the edge. Gate opened by Officer J. March. Lone courier and hood. Short. Limp. Then a dock mark. 3 short lines like claws. Who wrote this? Roseline asked. The scarred man lifted his chin. I did. That night. His eyes held steady now. I remember the limp. Roseline searched his face. You swear it. By the moon, he said. That oath meant something here. Mira turned the ledger, so it faced Roseline again. This breaks Juan's story, she said. He said you met him here. The gate shows he opened for a courier, not for you. Do you know who the courier was? Roseline asked the clerk. He shook his head. Had stayed down. Paid cash. Left fast. Gracie tugged Roseline's sleeve. Look at the stamp on the receipt, she whispered. She slid out a thin slip tucked behind the ledger. It matched the entry. Time, token, fee. At the corner was a pale wax smear with a tiny mark inside, 3 strokes in a circle like a small spiral claw. Roseline's skin prickled. I've seen this, she said, on the forged letters they found in my room. The same wax trace. Whose seal? Hale asked. Gracie answered. No pack uses that mark, but I heard it in whispers. A shop that does things for a price. The mark means paid. Roseline met her aide's eyes. You mean Aiden? Gracie nodded. There is a door near the west warehouses. It looks like a storage room, but sometimes when you need it, it opens to him. Myra's jaw tightened. Dark work, she said. If this is true, it proves the letters came from a forger. It proves the letters did not come from me. Roseline said, we follow this. Hale closed the ledger. We will take a copy, he said to the clerk. By order of the council. The man nodded and reached for ink and paper. While he worked, Roseline stepped outside to the rail. Water slapped the pilings. She let the wind clear her head for 5 breaths, no more. We have 2 threads, she said when Gracie joined her. The token and the seal. 1 ties to Juan. 1 ties to Aiden. And a witness who saw a limp, Gracie added. Roseline looked at the planks. Old stains, old salt. Juan's left knee was hit last winter, she said. He limps when he is tired. Hale and Mira returned with the copy, stamped and signed. Next, Hale asked, the west warehouses, Roseline said. Show me the door. They cut across fish stalls and rope piles to the older row of sheds. Rain had chewed the roofs. Nets hung like dead vines. Gracie led them to a blank wall between Warehouse 12 and a shuttered sail loft. "It's here," Gracie said. "It was here when I came once with a friend." She needed coin to pay a healer. The door was just there. Hale snorted. "Doors don't move." Gracie didn't argue. She pressed her palm to the wall, then stepped back. Nothing happened. Roseline stepped closer. The wall smelled like damp wood and old oil. She closed her eyes and thought of the wax spiral, of the band on her arm humming, of the hours sliding away, one grain at a time. She let fear rise and then pushed it down. Not gone, just lower than her will. "Aiden," she said softly, "I am here for the truth. Open." A breeze lifted the hair at her neck. The wall gave a soft click. A thin vertical line split the boards. A narrow door edged with warm light eased inward an inch, then two. Hale swore under his breath. Myra's hand went to the knife at her belt. Gracie's fingers twisted in her own skirt. Roseline took one step forward. The band on her arm warmed, as if it, too, felt the change. She looked back at the enforcers. "You come with me," she said. They slipped inside. The light was golden and calm. It smelled like paper and tea. A bell chimed once. Not a warning. A welcome. A voice came from deeper in the shop, smooth and tired at once. "You have 24 hours. The voice said. "You should not waste them on me." Roseline knew the name, without seeing the face. "Aiden," she said. "Luna," the voice answered. "I cannot undo a wish, but I can tell you what it cost." Roseline lifted her chin. "Tell me who paid it," she said. Silence. Then the soft scrape of a chair. Footsteps approached. A man stepped into view. Green eyes. Shadow like a coat. He looked at the band on her arm and winced, as if it pained him. "I can't say the name," Aiden said, "but I can show you the hand." He set a single wax seal on the counter. The spiral mark glinted inside it, and pressed faint in the edge of the wax was a thumbprint with a small scar, a crooked crescent Roseline had seen 100 times on a certain guard's hand. Juan. Behind her, the door latch moved on its own. It clicked shut. Chapter 3. The door clicked shut. Aiden set a wax seal on the counter. The spiral mark showed. A faint thumbprint cut by a small crescent scar lay on the edge. "Juan," Roseline said. "I didn't say that," Aiden replied. "I'm not allowed to say names." Hale stepped closer. "Open the door." "It will open," Aiden said. "You are safe here. I don't harm my clients." "I'm not your client," Roseline said. "Then why did the door open for you?" His green eyes were tired. People come when they want something more than anything. The shop answers that. "I want the truth." "And truth has rules," he said. He tapped the seal. "I can't undo a wish. I can't name the buyer, but I can show you the origin and process." "Show it to us," Mira said. Aiden took out a small iron press, a thin ledger, and a slip of paper. He warmed the press and stamped the back of the seal. A faint rune flared, then faded. "The maker's rune," he said. "All my seals carry it. Your council knows neutral vendors. This seal came from my bench, and it came from the same batch as the seals on the letters found in your room." "How do we prove that?" Roseline asked. He opened the ledger. Each page held wax swatches with dates. He matched the spiral to one swirl. "Batch S, 17, Aiden said, poured the night before the storm." Hale frowned. 17 again. "That number is mine," Aiden said. Your token 17 belongs to your guard. Mira nodded once. The dock book shows token 17 open the gate. Aiden slid the slip of paper across. A small metal tag was tied to it. A claim chit for Smuggler's Warehouse 3, Locker C, passphrase Spiral Claw. He met Rosaline's eyes. I can show place, not person. Will you swear before the council? Roseline asked. Yes, by the neutral merchant oath. I will confirm what I made and where I sent it. He set a thin slate on the counter. A faint swirl was burned into it. A batch plate. Warm it and touch any seal. If it's S17, the swirl glows for a breath. Gracie brightened. We can test the letters from her room. If they let you near them, Aiden said softly. One more thing, Roseline said. What was the price for the wish? The buyer paid with blood and standing. Aiden said, if the lie breaks in public, the wish snaps back on the buyer. He loses rank and safety at once. Good, Roseline said. The door sighed open. Cold air cut the warmth. You'll come when called. Hale asked. I will, Aiden said. They stepped into the alley. The wall was blank again. Gracie held the chit tight. Warehouse 3, Roseline said. They moved fast along the quay. Wind off the river slapped their coats. The movement band hummed on Rosaline's arm like a clock. Smuggler's Warehouse 3 was a low line of metal doors. A clerk sat by a brazier. Locker C? Hale said. Passphrase. The clerk asked. Spiral Claw, Gracie said. The clerk led them down a narrow aisle. He tapped the lock. Say it. Spiral Claw, Roseline said. The lock clicked. Inside sat a small chest with a dull spiral seal. Mira scanned corners. Clear. Roseline broke the seal and lifted the lid. Inside lay a stamp block carved with her name, letter templates listing routes and patrol times, a pouch of old seals from many packs, and, at the bottom, an after-curfew permit, Officer Token 17 authorized to open dock gates during storm closure. Hale's jaw set. Signed by Wyatt. Dated the night of the ledger entry. Gracie's breath hitched. He cleared Juan's access. It doesn't prove he knew the use, Mira said, but her voice was tight. Roseline warmed the batch plate with her palm and pressed it to a loose spiral seal in the chest. The swirl flashed, then went dark. S17, she said. Same batch as the forged letters. Same as the wax on the dock receipt. Bootsteps scraped behind them. Step away from the box. Luna, a voice said. They turned. Juan stood at the aisle mouth with a loaded crossbow aimed at Rosaline's chest. His eyes were flat. His smile was thin. Enforcers, he said, walk her out. Or at dawn I put a bolt through the stone bridge. King, the moment the bells start. Hale shifted to block the shot. Myra's hand slid to her knife. You won't make it out, Roseline said. The docks are full. You're already seen. Juan's gaze flicked to the permit in Hale's hand, then back. I only need one path, he said. Move. Gracie whispered. Roseline, look. On the chest's lid, a second paper lay stuck under the hinge. A map of the riverside tunnels. A red line ran from this warehouse to the old crane. Juan's finger tightened on the trigger. Chapter 4. Juan's finger tightened. The crossbow aimed at Rosaline's heart. If you shoot, Roseline said, calm, you confess with steel. The council will read this room like a map. I only need one map. Juan said. Out. Hale shifted a half step, slow. Myra's hand slid to her knife. Gracie's whisper was a thread. The brazier glow, lid, flash him. Roseline moved first. She snapped the chest lid up. The brass hinge caught the coal light and threw it at Juan's eyes. He flinched. Myra's knife flashed. The crossbow cracked. The bolt tore a crate and sang past Hale's shoulder. Myra's blade clipped Juan's sleeve. He cursed, dropped back, and hurled a small clay pot. It shattered in the aisle. Gray smoke burst up. Mask! Hale barked. They ducked low and held their sleeves to their faces. The smoke scratched, but did not blind for long. By the time it thinned, Juan was running. The evidence, Roseline said. Gracie stuffed the permit, stamp block, batch plate, and templates into her satchel. Hale grabbed the small chest. Mira kicked the broken pot aside. Go, Hale said. They ran. Juan's boots hammered the concrete. Then the sound changed, hollow, echoing. He had found the service hatch in the back wall. The cover hung open. Wet air rose from below. The tunnels, Gracie said, pointing at the red line on the map they had found. This way leads to the old crane. Hale slid down the ladder first, chest slung over his back. Roseline followed. Mira came last and pulled the hatch shut behind them. The stair dropped into a low stone corridor. Water dripped steady. The movement band hummed on Rosaline's arm. The sound made the narrow space feel smaller. Listen, Mira said. Ahead, boots splashed. A faint scrape. A man with a limp forcing speed. That knee, Roseline whispered. Winter injury. Left side. They moved fast, single file. The tunnel bent and bent again. Chalk marks showed on the stone, small spirals and circles. Spiral claw, Gracie breathed. Aiden's buyer marking exits. Save your breath, Hale said. They reached a fork. Left smelled of old oil. Right smelled of cold river. The map, Roseline said. Gracie unrolled it, hands shaking. Right, 2 turns. Then the sluice. They ran right. The floor sloped down. The tunnel widened. The roar of water grew. Juan's shadow flicked across a corner ahead. He looked back once, eyes pale in the dark, then pulled a lever on the wall and vanished through a grate. Metal groaned. Far down the line, a gate jerked. River water surged into the channel. Back. Mira snapped. Too late. The first wave hit the curve and raced toward them, low and fast. High ground. Hale pointed to a narrow maintenance ladder bolted to the wall. He shoved the chest up to Roseline. She slung it on a rung, climbed, and hauled Gracie after her. Hale jumped next, then Mira. White water filled the tunnel below, churning black where it hit the stones. Hold, Hale said, jaw tight. The surge rose to their boots, then ebbed. Cold spray bit their faces. We can't wait, Roseline said. Lucas dies at dawn. They dropped back to the slick floor. The flood had lowered, but water still ran knee-deep and hard. They pushed forward against it, braced on the wall. At the next bend, a grate stood open, wet and swinging. Outside, daylight pulsed gray. River noise filled the world. They slid through and spilled under the old crane. The river was fast. The crane's black arm reached over it like a crow's wing. On the far bank, a small skiff rocked. A woman held the rope. Serena. Her cloak hid most of her shape, but Roseline saw the swell under the fabric. The child. Serena's eyes were wide and bright with fear. Or victory. Roseline could not tell. Juan limped down a slick ledge to her. He looked smaller out here, soaked, jaw clenched against pain. He grabbed the rope. Don't, Roseline called. Her voice was steady. There's nowhere left to hide. Juan looked up, then past her, to Hale's badge and Myra's knife. His mouth set. Serena's voice carried thin over the water. Please, Juan. Hurry. Serena, Roseline said, listen to me. You still have a choice. Serena's chin lifted. No, I made it weeks ago. Juan shoved the skiff off. The rope slid. Serena leapt in and reached for him. Hale moved to shoot a line. Juan saw it and yanked another lever on the pier, an old release. The crane's chain screamed. A rusted hook swung loose and started a long, heavy arc toward the ledge where Roseline and her guard stood. Down! Mira yelled. The hook came fast, 10 stone of iron, aimed to sweep them into the river. Roseline grabbed Gracie and threw her flat. Hale lunged for the chain to stop its swing. His fingers closed. The full weight hit. The chain tore free from rotten wood and whipped. The hook changed course in mid-arc and roared past Rosaline's head by a hand's width. It struck the ladder behind them. The ladder snapped, broke from the wall, and slid toward the water, carrying the chest with the permit, seals, and templates. Gracie screamed. Roseline dived. Cold closed over her eyes and ears. The movement band burned against her skin. Her hands found wood, then iron, then the slick lid of the chest. Something slammed her shoulder. The river tried to take her. She locked both arms around the chest handle and kicked for the surface. She broke air coughing. Hale's grip found the chest. Mira hauled Rosaline's collar. Together, they dragged both onto the stones. Across the channel, Juan pushed the skiff out into the current. Serena braced at the bow, white-knuckled on the rope. Hale lifted the dripping chest. The permit slid half free. Roseline stood on shaking legs. We still have proof, she said, breath rough, and he is heading for open water. Mira pointed downriver. Not yet. A low bar gate across the channel began to rise. The old harbor teeth. Someone up on the quay was cranking them by hand. A small figure in a hood. The gate climbed, teeth dripping. The skiff aimed for the gap. Rosaline's stomach dropped. We won't reach them, Gracie whispered. Roseline set her jaw. Then we make the river stop instead. How? Hale asked. Roseline looked up at the crane, at the chain at the broken release, and then at the heavy counterweight hanging by a frayed rope high above the channel. Cut that, she said. The counterweight. Mira asked. It drops, Roseline said. It throws a wall of water and stalls the skiff. And maybe kills them, Hale warned. Rosaline's throat tightened. Time beat in her arm. Dawn moved closer. Then we force a choice, she said. One surrenders, or we all go under. Mira lifted her knife. The rope creaked. Chapter 5. Mira cut the rope. The counterweight dropped like a stone. The river heaved. A wall of water rushed under the old crane and slammed into the skiff. It spun hard and struck the pilings. Serena screamed. Juan lost his stance and grabbed the gunwale with one hand. The line. Hale shouted. Mira threw a coil. It fell true over the skiff's stern. Hale braced and hauled. The skiff drifted sideways and jammed against the ladder rungs. Serena, jump. Roseline called. Serena froze. Another shove from the current jolted the skiff. She slipped and went over the side. Roseline moved without thought. She dove. Cold punched through her. The movement band burned on her arm. She found her arm, then her clothes. She kicked hard. They broke the surface, choking. Hale's hand caught the back of Rosaline's coat. Mira hooked Serena's belt and dragged her up the stones. Gracie shoved her cloak around Serena's shoulders. Breathe, Roseline said. You're safe. Serena coughed and sobbed. Her eyes darted to the river. Juan. He was already climbing the ladder, one knee stiff, breath ragged. He reached the top and wrenched free a rusted hook. He swung it down to keep them back. Hale lifted his hands. Open. Juan. It's done. Don't add murder to treason. Juan's stare was flat. Treason? He said. I serve the pack. You serve your pride. Roseline said. She held up the soaked permit. Signed by Wyatt. Token 17. Storm Night. We found the chest. We found the batch plate. We found your path. A twitch crossed Juan's face. His gaze flicked to the permit, then to Serena. He signed what I put under his hand. Juan said. Then he bit the words back, like he had felt a trap close. Say that again. Mira said. Juan's jaw clenched. You'll never reach the hall, he hissed. The Stonebridge King will be executed by dawn. That's the law. Whistles cut the wind. Boots pounded the quay above. Pack guards were coming fast. Serena jolted at the sound. She grabbed Rosaline's wrist. Please, she whispered. Don't let them kill him. This was my fault, too. I spread the lies. I was afraid. Afraid of what? Roseline asked. Of being nothing, Serena said. Her voice was small. Juan said he'd make me safe, that he could fix everything. He talked about a shop that makes problems go away. I believed him. Hale edged toward the ladder. Juan, down, hands where I can see them. Juan swung the hook again. Back, he warned. Above, a helm flashed at the quay rail. A voice Roseline knew too, well carried down the stone. Stand clear. Wyatt called. Enforcers, yield. I will take the Luna into custody. Myra's eyes went hard. By council order. She called back. She remains under escort until the clock runs. Wyatt's reply was soft and dangerous. Then I will lend the clock. A relay clacked somewhere unseen. The band on Rosaline's arm grew hot. Pain crawled up into her shoulder like fire ants. Gracie gasped. They're trying to lock you down. Hold, Roseline said through her teeth. We finish here. She faced Juan again. Listen to me. I will get Serena out alive. I will ask mercy for her. But I need your confession. Juan laughed once. You think he will spare anyone? He jerked his chin toward the rail. He told me to clean it up. The words hung in the wet air. Hale stilled. Myra's hand tightened on her knife. Say it clear, Roseline said. Wyatt said what? Juan's eyes flicked to Serena, then to the guards above. His mouth thinned. I won't die for your story, he said. He grabbed a smoke pot from his belt, cracked it on the rung, and dropped it. Gray fog burst between them. Down. Hale barked. Roseline pulled Serena close and covered her mouth with the cloak. The smoke scratched her throat. The band on her arm pulsed, trying to drop her to her knees. She stayed upright, by will alone. When the fog thinned, the ladder was empty. The tunnel, Mira said, pointing to a dark slit under the quay. Roseline saw it, the same service run one had used before. On the stone, near the opening, lay a smear of blood and a wet thumbprint with a crescent scar. His knee, Gracie said. He's hurt. More boots hit the stones above. Wyatt's shadow moved along the rail. Hale looked at Roseline. We can run the tunnel, or we can hold the proof and face him now. Roseline stared at the chest, the permit, the plate, Serena's shaking hands. The river hissed. The band burned. Dawn crept closer. Split, she said. Hale, get Serena and the chest to the council hall. Guard her with your life. Hale nodded once. Done. Mira, With me, Roseline said. We take the tunnel. We bring Juan back alive. Gracie stepped forward. I'm with you. Roseline met her eyes. Stay with Hale. If I fall, you carry the proof. Gracie swallowed and nodded. Above, Wyatt's voice sharpened. Last warning, he called, surrender the Luna. Roseline lifted her chin. I stand under council law. She called back. Touch my band before dawn ends, and every allied alpha will hear it. Silence. Then, cold as iron. So be it. Mira slid into the tunnel. Roseline followed, pain creeping up her arm. Behind them, Hale hoisted the chest and helped Serena to her feet. Gracie clung to the satchel. Roseline glanced back once. Serena's gaze met hers, wide and guilty. I'll speak for you, Roseline said. Say the truth when they ask. Serena nodded, lips trembling. Roseline faced the dark. Water dripped. Air moved, faint and cold. Go, she said. They ran into the tunnel after the limp and the blood. Behind them, a lever clanked. The movement band went white hot. Chapter 6. Pain tore up Rosaline's arm. The band burned hot, trying to lock her muscles. She kept moving. Mira ran ahead. The tunnel bent left, then right. Water dripped. Air smelled like rust. Listen, Mira said. They stopped. A limp scraped stone up ahead. A breath hitched. Juan. They pushed on. Fresh chalk spirals marked turns. A bloody thumbprint with a crescent scar smeared one wall. The tunnel opened into a pump room. Iron pipes crossed the ceiling. A narrow catwalk circled a deep sump where black water turned. Juan clattered onto the catwalk and looked back, face pale with pain. Stop, Mira called. He yanked a lever. A gate slammed between them. Metal rang. Juan limped toward a far door. Low hatch, Roseline said. They dropped, slid through a slime-bright crawl space, and climbed up on the other side. Juan, Roseline said, steady. Wyatt will cut you loose the moment this turns. He promised me, Beta. Juan snapped. His mouth tightened, like he wished he could swallow the word. Mira filed it with a glance. Juan threw a knife. It grazed Rosaline's sleeve and clanged away. He spun the far wheel. It stuck. His bad knee buckled. Mira hit him first. She jammed the wheel back with her boot. Juan swung. She ducked and drove a shoulder into his ribs. Roseline caught Juan's wrist. The knife fell. Enough, she said. Name the plan in the hall. I will ask for mercy. Mercy? Juan laughed once. For who? Serena chose. I did the work. He smashed his forehead into Rosaline's brow. Stars burst. He ripped the wheel and spun it hard. A sluice gate crashed down behind them. A low rumble shook the floor. Myra's head snapped to the sump. He opened the feed. Water boiled up from a culvert. It climbed quick, cold, and dark. The exit, Mira said, a maintenance door, sat high on the wall. A rusted ladder led to it. They climbed. The catwalk trembled as water hit the braces. The band pulsed again, hot and mean. Roseline bit her cheek and kept going. Mira reached the door. The handle would not move. It seized, she said. Give me a knife. Roseline passed her a knife. Metal shrieked. The seam opened a finger. Again, Roseline said. Mira drove steel, pried, and kicked. The handle snapped off. Roseline looked up. A small shutoff will sat near the hinge. If we bleed the pressure, she said. She reached, slipped on wet iron, and caught the pipe. The band flared. She held anyway and turned with both hands. The little one squealed, then spun. Steam hissed, and the door flexed. Mira jammed the blade and heaved. Push. Roseline pushed her shoulder to the panel. It moved. An inch. 2. The gap was narrow, but enough. You first, Roseline said. You wear the band, Mira said. Go. Roseline slid through, scraped ribs, and fell onto a small landing in a dry shaft. Through, she called. Mira followed. Behind them, water rose and roared. They ran the side shaft to a grated hatch. Thin daylight striped the floor. They shoved. The grate did not move. They pressed together and heaved. Wood creaked above. The grate lifted a finger. A shadow fell across the slats. Weight pressed down. Wyatt's voice came smooth and cold. Luna, he said, come back to the hall. Your time is up. I stand under council law. Roseline said, touch this band before dawn ends, and every allied alpha will hear it. Metal struck wood. The grate slammed. The bar wedged tight. Below, a new rush grew. Myra's eyes went flat. Upper feet, she said. He'll flood the shaft. Spray hit their faces. Water licked their boots. Choose, Mira said. Roseline gripped the grate with both hands and pulled. The wood creaked. The band flared white-hot. She held on. Use the knife as a lever, she gasped. Mira slid her knife through the slats and pried up. Again. They strained. The grate lifted an inch. Nails squealed. Boots scraped above. Someone put weight on the cover. Wedge it, Roseline said. Mira jammed the knife to hold the gap. Roseline shifted her grip and tore at the rotten crossbar. It cracked, but didn't break. Water reached their calves. Cold bit to the bone. One more, Mira said. Roseline drew a breath, planted her feet, and hauled until her shoulders burned. The wood split with a sharp crack. The bar gave way. The grate jumped higher. Daylight widened. Fresh air hit their faces. Through, Mira said. Roseline shoved her satchel up and reached for the edge. A hand slammed down from above, forcing the grate lower. Wyatt, his fingers steady, his eyes calm. Stay down, he said. Obey, and perhaps the Stonebridge King keeps his head. The band seared her skin. Roseline tasted metal. Lift it, she said. No, Wyatt replied, leaning harder. Water climbed to their knees. I can cut his hand, Mira murmured. Not yet, Roseline said. Blood on the grate gives him an excuse. He'll call it an attack and claim the right to kill us. She met Wyatt's eyes. You promised Juan Beta for this, she said quietly. You would drown your Luna to protect your pride. His gaze flickered just once. Now, Roseline whispered. They drove up with everything left. The wood screamed. The gap widened to a handspan. Mira flicked the knife up and out, so it wouldn't fall through. Go, she hissed. Roseline jammed her forearms into the opening, band blazing, and the flood hit their thighs. Chapter 7. The water climbed fast. Wyatt pressed harder on the grate. Rosaline's arms shook, but she did not let go. A sharp whistle cut across the street above. Hands off the council band. A voice called, That is a violation. Wyatt did not move. Mind your patrol. Warden, he said. This is pack business. Metal scraped. Another voice spoke, firm and close. It is council business the moment you trigger a lockdown. Step back or be recorded for censure. Wyatt's fingers eased. He did not look away from Roseline. This is not over. Lift, Roseline said. Mira and Roseline drove up together. The grate rose enough for a body. The warden shoved a bar under the edge. Through, he said. Roseline pushed her satchel out, then hauled herself up. Mira followed. Cold water spilled after them and ran toward the gutter. Wyatt stood a pace away. His eyes were calm and hard, for enforcers flanked him. Behind the warden, 2 council marshals held recording rods at the ready. "Return to the hall," Wyatt said. "Your time is done." Roseline wiped river from her face. "The council granted me until dawn," she said. "I am using every breath of it." Wyatt's gaze flicked to the marshals and back. He gave a slight bow that looked like a threat. "Then run. You will only die tired." He turned and strode away with his men. The warden lowered the bar. "I cannot shield you again," he said. "Keep that band in open air. Any more force from him will be on record." "Thank you," Roseline said. "One more favor. Do you see a trail?" The warden pointed to wet prints that led into a service lane. "Blood drops left me heavy. Your quarry is hurt." Mira touched her brow in thanks. They ran. The lane bent behind old brick sheds. At each corner, they found a small spiral scratched in chalk. The spiral claw Mark pointed on. Blood marked a rung, then a crate, then a door with no sign. The chalk spiral was centered on its plank. "This is Aiden," Mira said. "Gracie warned us." Roseline put her palm to the wood. It felt warm, as if a fire burned on the other side. Yet no smoke leaked from the seams. The movement band pulsed. Dawn crept closer. "We go in," Roseline said. "No lies. No bargains we cannot pay." She pressed the latch. The hinge did not creak. The door opened onto a narrow shop that could not fit inside the small shed they had seen. Shelves reached high, with old books and glass jars. Faint light washed the floor like moonlight, though the street outside was still afternoon. "Close it," a tired voice said. "You are letting the night in." A man stood behind a counter. His coat was black. His eyes were a green that looked too clear. A young woman peeked from a back doorway with a teacup in her hands. Mira shut the door. The latch clicked. The street sounds vanished. The air smelled like dust and rain. Roseline kept her hands where the man could see them. "We need help," she said. "A guard named one used forged letters to frame me for treason. He limps on his left knee. He came this way." The man's gaze dropped to the council band on her arm. He did not touch it. He did not step closer. "You brought a clock into my shop," he said. "It is unkind." "We did not have a choice," Roseline said. "Lucas of Stonebridge will die if I fail. I need proof. I need a path to Juan." The young woman set the cup down. "Aiden cannot break a wish," she said. "That is the rule. But he can show a road." Aiden's jaw tightened. "Rules exist for a reason." Roseline nodded. "Good. Then honor your own law. Show me the road. Tell me nothing you are forbidden to tell. Take nothing I do not give." Aiden's eyes met hers. For a moment, he looked very tired. "Someone already asked me to bend truth in this matter," he said. "I cannot unmake that. I can point once, no more." He lifted a thin iron rod and drew a line in the dust on the counter. It curved like the river, then hooked inland toward the mill quarter. At the end, he pressed the rod down and left a small burn mark shaped like a dot. "Old granary," Mira said, "by the mill wheel." Aiden nodded once. "He calls it safe." "It is not." The band on Rosaline's arm pulsed again. It was a warning now, not a lock. The hour moved. Roseline reached for the door. "Thank you," she said. "Do not thank me," Aiden said. "The bill always finds the right door." Mira paused. "What bill?" Aiden looked past them to the dark beyond the shelves. The cost of letting night touch day. Roseline opened the door. Afternoon. Glare flooded the threshold. The alley was as they had left it. The chalk spiral on the plank had already faded. They stepped out. The shop door closed behind them. When Roseline turned to mark the wood, the doorway was a blank wall of old brick. No shelves, no sign, no hinges, only a fresh drip of rainwater that smelled like tea. Mira swallowed. "We have a point on the map," she said. "We run to the granary." "We run," Roseline said. They moved at pace. The river fell behind. The mill wheel grew larger with each street. People watched them pass and did not meet their eyes. A bell tolled somewhere toward the hall. It sounded like hunger. They reached the old granary at dusk's edge. Boards sealed the lower doors. A faded mark for wheat showed on the lintel. A single lamp burned on the loading deck above. It swung a little in the wind. A voice floated down, thin and hoarse. "You should have stayed under the grate. Luna!" Juan stood at the rail. His knee was wrapped. His crossbow was loaded. He aimed at Roseline's heart. "Do not shoot," Roseline called. "We bring truth and a choice." Juan smiled without humor. "I made my choice when I took the wish." The crossbow string tightened. "Down," Mira said, steady and clear. The bolt snapped from the rail. Chapter 8. Mira yanked Roseline down. The bolt tore a stripe through Roseline's sleeve and thudded into the post behind them. "Cover," Mira said. They slid behind a grain cart. The deck above creaked as one moved along the rail. "Walk away, Luna," he called. "Let the council hang the king. Let the pack forget you." "Come down," Roseline answered. "Face what you did." He laughed dry and small. The crossbow clicked as he cranked it. Mira pointed. A narrow service stair climbed the wall under the deck. No rail, no cover. Fast and low, Roseline said. They ran. Another bolt snapped past, cutting a puff of dust from the door. Mira hit the stair first, taking 2 steps at a time. Roseline followed, shoulder hot, where the band bit under the cloth. At the top, they rolled onto the deck. One stood 10 paces away, knee wrapped, bow up. Mira threw a small wrench. He flinched. The shot went wide. Roseline closed the distance. One swung the bow like a club. She slipped inside the arc and drove a palm into his chest. His bad knee buckled. He grabbed a rope to keep from falling and snarled. "Enough," Roseline said. "You can still choose truth." "My truth," he spat. "Wyatt lifted me from nothing. He promised me beta. You were in the way." He shoved a hanging lamp at them and staggered through the door into the loft. Grain dust hung in the air. Pulleys creaked. Sacks lay in rows. A long table stood under the window. On it, red wax, a brass stamp, thin brushes, practice sheets filled with Roseline's hand, and a stack of sealed letters addressed to rival packs. Mira went to the table. "Council seal," she said, lifting the stamp. Its face was wrong in one tiny curl. A forger's tell. Roseline swept the papers into her satchel. "Pack the wax. The brushes. All of it." One limped along the loft toward a roof hatch. Roseline cut him off. He swung the empty bow. She blocked, twisted, and sent it skittering. He lunged for the lamp instead. "Don't," she warned. He flung the lamp. It smashed and flared. Flame licked across floor dust in a quick blue run. "Down!" Mira kicked the burning oil into a bin of damp chaff. The flare died with a hiss. One grabbed a hook pole and drove at Roseline's ribs. She caught the shaft, stepped in, and wrenched. The pole tore from his hands. He threw a punch. She slipped it and swept his bad leg. He crashed hard and howled. "Breathe," Roseline said, standing over him. "Listen to yourself. You are bleeding for a man who will not say your name when this ends." Wyatt said, "Clean it up if they waver." Juan gasped. "He said the council would fold if the crowd saw you fall." "Say it again." Mira said. He stared at the ceiling. He said to make sure the story stayed simple. A Luna who sold her pack. A king who died for it. Rosaline's throat tightened. And Serena, she wanted a crown, he said, voice flat. She carried gossip where I pointed. She thought love would keep her safe. Boots thudded on the deck below. Voices carried. Enforcers. Many. Mira looped rope around Juan's wrists and yanked it tight. "You walk to the hall," she told him, "or we drag you." He grimaced. "I will not see the dawn." "You will," Roseline said. "You will speak." They hauled him to his feet. He swayed but moved when Mira shoved him forward. Roseline slung the satchel. The brass stamp thumped against the wax inside. On the stairs, a shadow rose. "Hail." "Back door," he said, breath thin. Wyatt sealed the street. "Marshals won't break his line unless you stand on the council steps." "Serena?" Roseline asked. "In holding." Shaking. She told the wardens she wants to tell the truth. He eyed Juan. "Bring him. We run the alleys." They took the rear stair to a loading bay, then a chute down to a brick lane. Hale led. Mira pushed Juan. Roseline watched the corners. They moved between mills and narrow yards. Twice they saw patrols and cut away. The band on Rosaline's arm pulsed steady now, measuring the hours she had left. 2 turns, Hale said, past the dye works, then the square. They turned and stopped. Wyatt stood in the lane with 6 enforcers. Behind him, more blocked the far end. The council tower rose beyond them, close enough to see the banner over the gate. Wyatt's eyes took in the satchel, the rope, the blood on Juan's knee. His mouth curved, polite and cold. "Good," he said. "All my problems in one place." "Step aside," Roseline said. "The council will hear him." Wyatt nodded to the men behind her. "Take him," he said. "Take them all." Hale drew his staff. Mira set her stance. Juan's breath hitched. The lane filled with steel. A bell rang from the tower, one long note. The scaffold ropes swung in the wind. "Dawn," Wyatt said softly. He raised his hand. "Break." Hale snapped. They moved at once, left, right, up the bins, and the first volley flew. Chapter 9. The volley hissed past like angry bees. Roseline dove behind a bin. Mira shoved one the other way. Hale stepped into the lane with his staff and took 2 bolts on the wood. Split. Hale barked. "Meet at the square." Mira dragged Juan through a slit between sheds. Roseline ran the opposite side, boots pounding over broken brick. Enforcers surged after them. Wyatt kept to the center, calm as ice. Grain spilled from a cracked chute. Roseline kicked it wide, and dust rose in a choking fog. Coughs followed. She cut left, vaulted a low wall, and burst into a tannery yard. The band on her arm throbbed a warning. Dawn was almost spent. She cleared the yard and hit a market lane. The council tower rose ahead. The scaffold stood at its base. A hooded figure waited under the beam. "Lucas!" 2 marshals checked knots. A scribe lifted a hand to mark the hour. "By council law." Roseline shouted, raising the band high, bearer presenting evidence. "Stay the sentence." Heads turned. Marshals saw the seal on the band and moved at once. They spread their staves and made a gate. Roseline ran through. Enforcers reached the line and stopped, eyes hot. Wyatt slowed 10 paces back, expression cold and courtly. Mira and Hale broke from another lane, pushing Juan into the ring. He looked gray, but he stood. Alpha Cedric stepped from the dais. "You have minutes, Luna," he said. "Show proof." Roseline pulled the satchel open. She set out the brass stamp, the red wax, the thin brushes, and 3 sealed letters. "The council seal," she said, pointing. "Note the inner curl. It bends wrong. It matches the impression on these letters found in my rooms." She peeled one open and laid the 2 side by side. Even from a step away, the flaw showed. Cedric's jaw tightened. He held the stamp to the light, then pressed it into soft wax. The bad curl marked clean. "Forged," he said. Wyatt's voice carried, smooth as a blade. "Staged." She plants a tool, then finds it. Convenient. Juan carried it to the granary. Mira said, "We took it from his table." Cedric looked to Juan. "Guard," he said. "Even. Speak to the court." Juan swayed on his feet and met Rosaline's eyes. Something like shame flickered, then hardened. "Wyatt promised me, Beta," he said, voice rough. "He told me to make the story simple. Letters in her hand. Enemies named. I hired Aiden to bend the signs. Serena fed the talk. I placed the proof." The square rippled with sound. Wyatt did not move. "Name the order," Cedric said. "Who gave you the command to frame your Luna for treason?" Juan drew a breath. "Ow." A crack split the air. Juan jerked. A bolt struck deep at the base of his throat. He dropped without another word. Mira lunged to catch him. Blood slicked her hands. Hale spun toward the roofs. "North Eve," he shouted. Marshals raised shields, too late for the first shot, but in time to catch the second. "Arrest the shooter." Cedric barked. Enforcers on Wyatt's flank did not move. Wyatt did. He stepped back 1 pace and lifted his hands as if to calm the crowd. "Violence is what traitors bring," he said. "See how she turns the square into chaos." Roseline knelt by Juan. His lips tried to form a word. No sound came. She closed his eyes and stood. The band burned like a brand. She faced the dais. "You heard him," she said, voice steady. "You saw the stamp. You saw the letters. I ask formal stay. I ask that Lucas be cut free while we hunt the archer and bring Serena to speak." Cedric looked from the proof to the scaffold. The scribe hovered, pale. One marshal had a hand on the rope, waiting. "Alpha Wyatt," Cedric said, "as judge you must vote on the stay." "I vote no," Wyatt said, pleasant and clear. "She lies." He lied. The king dies. A hush fell. Cedric's eyes hardened. "Then my vote matters," he said. He turned to the marshals. "By the power of this court, I—" A shout rose at the edge of the crowd. Serena stumbled from a side gate in chains, hair wild, cheeks wet. 2 wardens dragged her forward. "I'll talk," she cried, voice shaking. "I will tell you everything." Every head turned. On the scaffold, a marshal's knife hovered at the rope. Cedric lifted his hand to give the order. Wyatt's gaze slid to Serena, then back to Roseline. He smiled without warmth. "Choose, Cedric," he said softly. The knife began to cut. Chapter 10. The knife bit the rope. "Hold!" Roseline shouted, raising the band. New witness on the square. Council law requires a pause. The marshals froze. One lifted his staff. "Stay," he said. The knife stopped. The rope fibers loosened, then held. Serena stumbled to the dais. "I helped," she cried. I spread the rumors. Juan planted the letters. We used a forged seal. Wyatt promised me the Luna title if Roseline fell. Gasps rolled through the crowd. Wyatt's smile looked kind and cold. Fear makes her say wild things, he told Cedric. She will say anything to save herself. Serena shook her head hard. Ask about Old Crane, she said, voice breaking. That was the code for Aiden's door and the granary stash. Wyatt used it. One used it. I heard them both. She held up a small iron key on a leather thumb. This opens the lock under the granary table. There's a ledger. Payouts. Dates. Names. Cedric took the key. He turned to a marshal. Send 2 to the granary. Bring the lockbox if there is one. Wyatt's eyes narrowed. This circus insults the court. End it. An arrow hissed from the north eave. Hale swung his staff up. The bolt thudded into the wood and stuck, humming. Shields. Cedric barked. Marshals raised their rods. The crowd crouched. Another arrow flashed toward Serena. Mira dragged her down. The bolt slashed hair and sparked on the stone. Archer, a warden yelled. Roofline, north. Wyatt spread his hands, the picture of regret. See how chaos follows her, he said, nodding at Roseline. See how death walks where she does. Roseline stepped between Serena and the roofs. Cut Lucas free, she told Cedric. You have a confession. You have a forged seal. You have an active attack to silence the truth. Cedric looked at the band on her arm, then at the hooded figure on the scaffold. Marshal, the stay is valid, the marshal said. The witness creates cause. Cedric faced the scaffold. Release the Stonebridge King. The marshal reached for the knot. Wyatt's voice slid through the air. My vote is no, he said. The law requires 2 judges for a stay. I refuse. You refuse to hear proof, Cedric snapped. You refuse to move for safety. You refuse to control your men. He turned to the marshals. By the court's authority, I order. A third arrow sang. Hale twisted. The bolt grazed his arm and shattered the scribe's ink jar. Black spread over the record board. Tower squads, the warden roared. Take the eve. No enforcer on Wyatt's flank moved. Cedric's jaw set. Marshals, advance. 2 broke from the line and ran for the stair. Wyatt lifted one finger. His men stepped to block them without drawing blood, faces blank. Serena clutched Rosaline's sleeve. There is more, she whispered, shaking. Wyatt told one to keep it simple. Letters in her hand, enemies named, a king who dies for it. His words. He said it twice. Roseline raised her voice. You heard her. You saw the forged stamp. You saw the attack. If Lucas hangs now, it is not law. It is murder. Wyatt's pleasant tone did not change. Your time has ended. The band flared hot around her wrist. Minutes. Maybe less. Roseline. The voice from the scaffold was low and calm. Lucas, through the hood. Breathe. Hold your ground. She lifted her head. I will. Cedric drew a breath and made his choice. Cut him free. The marshal slid a knife under the knot. The archer stepped into full view on the north eave at last, cloak snapping in the wind. He took slow aim, not at Serena, not at Roseline, but at the rope above Lucas. Down! Mira yelled. The arrow loosed, bright as a needle. It flew straight for the strand that kept the king alive. Epilogue. The arrow flew for the rope. Hale's staff flashed up and hooked it offline. The strand held. A marshal cut clean, and Lucas dropped to the platform, alive and steady on his feet. 2 tower squads swarmed the roof. They dragged the archer down with a split lip and a broken bow. On him, a purse stamped with Wyatt's crest. At the same time, wardens from the granary returned at a run. They held a lockbox and a ledger. Cedric opened it on the dais. Neat entries named payouts, dates, and routes. The page showed Old Crane as the code for the forged seal runs. The amounts matched the purse on the archer and the rents on a hidden loft. Signatures were careful, but the path of money led, again and again, to Wyatt's private funds. Serena spoke through tears. I carried the talk. Juan handled the letters. Wyatt said it had to be simple. Letters in her hand, enemies named, a king who dies for it. The square went quiet. Even the banners stilled. Cedric lifted his staff. By council law, he said, the stay becomes release. King Lucas is free. He turned to Wyatt. And you, Alpha, are suspended from judgment and command pending full trial. Wyatt smiled a cold, thin smile. You cannot unmake a mate bond with ink, he said. Roseline raised the movement band. No, she said softly, but truth can. She slid the band free and held it high. I serve this pack. I did not betray it. I return your fear to the one who sold it to you. The first knees hit stone. An elder bowed his head, then a hunter, then a mother with a child at her hip. Luna, Roseline, voices said, one after another, until the sound filled the square like rain. Wyatt took one step back. Enforcers looked to him and then to the people. No one moved. Cedric spoke to the marshals. Take Serena into ward. Guard her well. Take the archer. Seal the granary. Aiden will be heard as a neutral witness under rule. Hale stood at Rosaline's side. He looked tired and proud. It is done, he said. Not yet, Roseline thought, but she nodded. She turned to Lucas. The hood was gone. His eyes were clear and kind. You held, he said quietly. So did you, she answered. They did not speak of marks. They did not need to. When her fingers slid against his, only a brush, only a breath, the thin skin over his heart warmed. Ink slept there, but the flesh glowed, soft and sure, as if the word beneath her hand had always been hers. Months passed. Snow melted from the mills. The river ran fast and clean. Trials were held in daylight, and records were read aloud. Aiden came under guard, told the truth he was allowed, and paid a cost the law required. Serena pled to aiding and false witness and went south to start a life with no crown. Wyatt chose exile over chains. His name left the banners. The Western Pack and Stonebridge signed a new treaty on the courthouse steps. No seals were hidden. No money moved in shadows. Two councils met in one hall and argued in the open until they agreed. On a bright morning, Roseline stood on a terrace above the river. The air smelled like wet stone and new leaves. Lucas came from the map room with ink on his thumb and a grin he did not hide. How many names today? He asked. Fewer, she said. People begin to trust their own voices. He touched her wrist. No band, no weight, only skin, only promise. And the twins. Kicking, she said, laughing, like they own the place. They do, he said, and so do you. Across the city, children chased each other in the lanes. At the mills, the wheel turned. On the square, a teacher told a class why a forged curl in wax had almost cost them a king, and how a crowd that chose truth changed the law that day. Roseline looked out over the roofs and the river and the far line of trees. She had thought the word Luna meant obedience. Now she knew it meant something else, to stand, to speak, to carry, and to set down. Lucas slid an arm around her. What do you need? He asked. This, she said, and leaned into him. Just this. Us. And the simple work of keeping faith. The wind lifted. Banners snapped bright against the sky. Somewhere below, a bell rang the hour, honest and clear. And that was her story, a rejected Luna who rose from the ashes of betrayal to claim her destiny. If you felt her pain, her courage, and her triumph, don't let the story end here. Subscribe to the channel for more powerful werewolf romances and share your favorite moment in the comments. Every like, comment, and subscription helps us bring you even more stories that will keep your heart racing.